Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Gio Perez and welcome to the best martial art talk show in YouTube. I got James Poidog here, a Muay Thai coach. So tell me where you're teaching now, man.
I teach at 10 Planet Headquarters, also known as HQ, formerly Tap Out, Los Angeles, 400 West Pico. I also teach at Watts MMA in Simi Valley. Two long different places because I live in the middle, so it's easier for me to hit two different gyms.
So you're staying in the San Fernando Valley?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moved here, I think 3 years ago I moved out here to the area of Northridge, Reseda.
And how long have you been teaching Muay Thai?
I've been teaching Muay Thai, I would say probably close to 6 years. Probably longer. I kind of lost track. I dabbled in it a lot when I was younger. So I'm a big fan of it. You know, just back when we used to have smokers, and for people that don't know what a smoker is an amateur fight. Usually coaches will bring guys of same weight and put them in and they'll have fights during the night. And there was a time in California's history when we used to have those every weekend. It's a wonderful time. And you could go and watch them, pay $10 and sit and watch great fights all night. And, you know, I used to watch those all the time. I had friends that competed.
I competed in those fights during that time.
Yeah.
With Rex.
You know,
Rex used to put them up. And then you had also the Muay Thai Academy in
yes,
Biden
that was one of the ones I used to go to a lot when I moved out to California, when I moved up to Studio City.
They used to get big trophies, man.
Yes.
And I remember taking one home. So
yes. They were fun. They were a lot of fun. And Ajahn Dobler, Double Dose Muay Thai, he used to have them up every weekend. You can go to his website and see them. There was literally one every weekend at different gyms, and every month it would be the same gym having one. And they were well put together, and, you know, no one seemed to care. California State Athletic Commission, they never had a problem with it. No one ever got really jacked up. I never saw people get really hurt. I've seen people get really hurt in pro events, more pro MMA events, but, you know, it was rarely blood all over the mat. It was rarely any of that stuff. It was well taken care of, you know, for safety reasons, and I think because of the income from MMA. The CSAC decided to step in and shut all that down.
They wanted a little piece of that.
Well, I think that's part of it. I also think that they wanted to make sure there was safety measures, like, you know, because they wouldn't necessarily have an ambulance. You know, you'd have to call 911 if the guy got jacked up.
Come on, man. You're also playing around with those little thin gloves, so.
Well, it's a lot of smokers. It was coaches deciding who would go in and wear what. I saw a lot of fights where guys were wearing what they would wear during sparring. They had headgear. They had thick shin guards on. They had, you know, 16-ounce gloves. You're not knocking anybody out with a 16-ounce glove and headgear. You know, I mean, even going for full bore trying to win, it's not going to happen. You know, again, they weren't stupid. They're not going to bring their guys in to get jacked up. And I think that's what the athletic commission maybe didn't understand. But, you know, I get it. You need, you know.
You're talking about, I mean, you're talking about
measures.
Yeah, the safety measures now, but you're talking about an art that's been going around for hundreds of years.
We're talking about 2,000 years. If you're talking about Muay Thai, then you're talking about an art that's been around for, you know, over 2,000 years. This is the national sport of Thailand. This is, for us, America, right? Football, how people take it to that level at football. That's Thai. That's Muay Thai in Thailand. This is an art that developed from other arts. This is an art that developed from Muay Baran, which is more maybe if you watch Ong Bak, movie Ong Bak, you know, it gives you an idea.
You see a lot of locks too in there.
Oh man,
you see a lot of arm bars,
like kung fu. You know, a lot of the Asian styles. So you know, Hapkido,
I saw a little. I saw a documentary about that, and then I saw some of the techniques that we're doing. They were the same techniques you find in Hapkido.
Yeah,
the
variations, small variations. Again, you know, you're going far enough back. You're going into kung fu.
Yeah.
And you asked, you know, earlier you asked me what you know, what my background is. You know, I started martial arts when I was about 8 years old. I did Shotokan. I started Shotokan. Masayama, punching the bull, right? Kill him, right? Completely ineffective in a fight, man. I get beat up and didn't know what I was trying to Masayama punch guys, and it just wasn't happening. And you know, I tried different stuff. I remember getting stuck in Taekwondo at 15, and they had me sparring. It was like a competition, you know, with the claw shin guards. And I don't even know what kind of freaking foam gloves. And I remember getting kicked in the nuts like 3 separate times, 3 separate opponents. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and they had me already fighting. And, you know, it made me kind of go away from sport fighting. I don't think it was represented correctly to me. And so for a long time, I went into darker arts, what I call darker arts. I went into things like Kali and Eskrima. I went into Pinjat Salat. I went into street stuff, where your opening thing is to try to kick this guy as hard as you can in the nuts. Right. And then you're going to try to, crack his trachea and rip his eyes, that fun stuff. Bite him through clothing so you don't get blood, that kind of thing. And that served me, that actually helped me in fights. But back then, we didn't have a lot of Muay Thai. We didn't have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We didn't have these things that were developing in other countries or were starting to develop in this country. Right. So, this was in the 70s. So, we barely had Bruce Lee at that point. Boxing, right? The kids that were really good with their hands. So when you learned to kick a kid in the knee, all of a sudden you were winning.
Well, the good thing about, like, for example, let's say, Muay Thai, that you get a lot of sparring happening there.
Nowadays.
What's the benefit of sparring?
The benefit of sparring
for Muay Thai. Not just Muay Thai, but like the benefit of sparring, even in other arts.
I can't necessarily, speak to other arts because in other arts they don't spar. They have, I did Kung Fu Sansu for a very long time. We don't spar. We drill. Drilling, when we go live and drilling, it's still one person's being basically like an offense-defense drill. Somebody's basically being compliant while you're doing things. What was wonderful about it is if you want to be a stuntman, Kung Fu Sansu was phenomenal. It taught you how to move and roll with what you were being given, so you didn't just take the full brunt of the attack. But it wasn't realistic as far as, resisting opponents. Sparring gives you someone who won't let you do your technique to them. The whole thing with the Gracie combatives, back in the day and Jiu-Jitsu, these guys were doing drills. They never sparred their deadly techniques on each other because you can't. It's a deadly technique. So these guys were Jiu-Jitsu had a guy that was not letting you do your technique. So you had to learn what worked. Guys, when you're fighting a guy that's letting you do stuff, everything works, right? So that's what sparring does for you. Sparring at different levels teaches you that. Sparring, if you're actually going to compete, hard sparring and just so I'm clear, I don't think hard sparring is something you should do all the time. I think that's not intelligent. I think that you have a lifespan on your health. And you will collect injuries. I know I did. I got away with a lot of stuff when I was younger that as an older man I can't do. I will pay for it anyway.
Especially on your knees.
Oh Lord, knees, back. I can't. I have a litany of injuries from training, not even fighting, that I didn't have when I was a bouncer, but I have, when I trained hard or I went to hard sparring sessions at different gyms, pro gyms and stuff, sparring with pros, like I'm not getting paid, but I'm sparring these guys like it's a fight. Stupid. Just stupid because that's what they wanted, right? An idiot. I was an idiot. So those things, but for them, it made sense. They were getting paid. This is what they needed to do. You do need to know what it's like to have someone try to take your head off. And you need to know what happens when
everybody has different styles.
You go into a fight and you've never had somebody hit you really, really hard, and they do, and now everything you have trained for is gone. It's lost. So do you need that? Yes. Should you? I think the argument is how often you should do it. Me personally, I tend to believe more along the way the Thais do it, where I think that you need to work a lot of sparring, light sparring, technical sparring, where you're still potentially going to get injured, but you're keeping it at a point where you can do it every day. You want to emulate what you're doing. Whatever your art is, what is your art's goal? You need to emulate that. If your goal is to defend people against guns and knives, then you need to be working against guns and knives, and you need to go almost as live as you can get without taking a bullet. And it's the same thing for Muay Thai. You're going to get kicked, and a guy's going to try to take your head off. He's going to try to elbow through your skull. He's going to try to knee your spleen out your back. You need to get as much realistic part of that in there as you can. And I think different gyms have different formulas as to how that works.
Well, you invited me to something last month. Actually this month, August, the month of August. And you call it a Spar-A-THON or a
We called this one Spar-A-THON. The last one was the Spar-BQ. A little history. This is stolen. I completely stole this with, he let me steal it. This gentleman named Jason Farrell out of Level Up Boxing in Maryland, phenomenal coach. I've been following him for a while. I love what he has to say. I love what he does. I love his energy, and I love how he incorporates not just that martial arts, but he puts in like the nerd aspect. I mean, he just repainted his gym and it looks like a Nintendo console. It's awesome. And, you know, on top of that, this guy has a winning record. I mean, he has guys that are going out, amateur and pro, and smashing people. He started this thing, and I don't have the full when it started, but I started noticing that every so often he would do these big events. And the last one he called Spar Wars. And he would take pictures and video, and you're talking about, I mean, he has a big gym. It's a big warehouse type gym, but he was filling it to the gills with people, like 300 people. Wow. And it's just packed with people. And then they have a big spar, you know, barbecue at the end. I mean, I think they had like hired people to cook this last time. Man. And I just loved it, man. In California, we talk about being a community as far as, you know, Muay Thai community, right? Right. Exclusive style community. And yet I don't always see that. I don't, you know, I lived in Hawaii. We have a thing called aloha, man. And it's not just hi, goodbye. It's a spirit. It's a way of being, you know, and it's a way of opening to everyone. You know, you let them show you they're not somebody worth your time. But up until then, you give them the respect you ask. California, I'm entitled to something that I'm not willing to give. It's stupid. So I see that in our community a lot, where people claim community, but then they don't act community. Right. And they act cliquish, like in high school. And I'm not into it. And so I thought, man, what a great way to bring more people in. And so I opened it up. Part of the problem is it's really far. So there's people that want to do it, but they live too far away. But every time I bring the idea up, whether it's to pro fighters, whether it's to pro coaches, amateurs, you know, just regular people, they love it. And so what we did was, you know, every month I try to set up a date that works for most people, have everybody come out for a few hours and just spar all levels, all styles of striking. We've had Taekwondo, Muay Thai, kickboxing, and just have a good time. You know, I don't want the guys to come out to smash. Awesome. I'm not into those dudes. You know, if you're coming out for hard sparring, it's probably not your thing. But I'm sure we can find a nice pro gym for you to go to. Yeah. But it's something that brings everybody out to have a good time, and then we hang out. We're done. We hang out. We have beers.
It was good. And got a chance to talk to a lot of your fighters, a lot of other fighters from other gyms. You know, it gave me the ability to be able to work on certain things on my hands, my feet. You get a lot of guys that have different styles. They have good kicking. Some guys that have great hands. Yep. And then you get to learn and defend. You know, you get to learn to defend those. You learn to defend against legs. And it's something that you come in and, you know, I sparred a girl that had been there maybe a couple months. You know,
at least,
and it was awesome, you know, that, you know, you're able to control that. It's not like you know.
She goes hard. Yeah. She hasn't learned control, so she comes.
But then there's some guys that you know that their level's a little bit higher. Yeah. So you kind of give yourself permission and say, you know what, can I come in? Can you come in? Yeah. And you know what?
Adjust.
And you adjust. And then once you're done, you know what? We're done. We finished sweating. It was 2.5 hours of sparring when I was there. Yeah. And then, you know, we have a good time.
Out, man.
That's it.
And because there's no ego, people can hang out. Yeah. You know, it's hard, you know, after a fight to hang out with your opponent and try to figure out what happened. But, you know, in this environment, and part of why I want to do this is a lot of gyms get used to sparring each other, and you get good work in, but you don't realize you're also kind of learning bad habits. You're starting to pick up, you know, on how to deal with that guy. And after a while, you learn your friends, and you allow yourself bad habits that won't work on somebody brand new. And so having that thing, you know, it's why we only do it once a month versus all the time, is because, you know, once a month is enough to get that little bit of stimulant to change your game and to be better. You know, there's a lot of gyms that won't come because they don't want us to scope their fighters. They're afraid of, what you don't understand in this day of information is that everybody can get video on everybody. As soon as you have a fight, you're going to get video. And now people are going to watch your video. And, in fact, a wonderful coach, Julio Toronto from Saxon's Muay Thai, it's near this area. He even mentioned this about how, you know, he trains guys that are in the UFC. And, the UFC will send you your opponent's last 3 fights. So now you can break down, and if you're really phenomenal at breaking down tape, which Julio is, they can figure out your holes if you're the same guy. So what that tells you is that even at a pro level, you can't rest. You need to continually change your game. Right. A lot of what I do with amateur guys is, and I've mostly been just working with amateur guys in the last few years, because the gym was small, and was growing, was just trying to get guys experience. You know, I don't really care about only getting certain dudes experience, like certain guys that are going to make me look good. I just want people to get out there and either figure out if this is what they want to do. Right. Because they need to. Some people have this dream of rock star, Muay Thai, and I don't know if that's really if it's fitting with what's really going on. it's also a way for them to come back and go, I need to train more, or I need to train better, or I need, they go out, guys will have an idea, go out and fight and come back and completely change how they train, and they get better at it. And that actually makes other people in the gym get better. It makes those guys that watch the fight, now they're like, they want to get better at what they're doing.
Right.
So what I think it does, it develops everything.
Yeah,
as a
you're
martial
building
art.
up I would say you're raising the bar and everything.
In my gym. And so adding the Spar-A-THON, Spar-BQ, Spar Wars, is to do the same thing.
That's what I did. I mean, I brought one of my best students to come into the Spar-A-THON. And actually I wanted to bring, and I want to do that, you know what? In order for me to bring you as a student, in my case, right? Yeah. I want you to kind of earn it, Yeah. You get a chance to come in and see me spar, because they never see me spar. Yeah. So it gives me a chance to go and also work on my skills. Right. Because as a teacher, you don't get, I don't get that much time.
No, and that's the thing. Like, that's, for me, I think the first time I went out there, Jonathan Poo came down, from Santa Barbara, Poo Muay Thai, and he wasn't gonna spar, and I told him, because I told him I wasn't gonna spar. And ended up sparring, and he was all mad at me. And it was funny, but, I realized for me, because I'm putting on the event, I get a lot of sparring at both my gyms, as is, but I really always kind of want to watch my guys spar. Right. And a lot of times, if I'm not sparring with my guys, I'm not watching them because I'm teaching something else. Right. I'll have a senior student.
But you have a good eye, man.
So for me, it's, I need to watch and see what's going on. Plus I realize if I'm sparring and something happens, I'm not able to take care of it. So I kind of just been holding myself back from sparring and watching. But what I'll do is, if I see something, like when your student was getting one of my guys, he's kind of a newer guy, and he's doing good, but again, he gets used to playing with the same guys. Right. And so when your guy started doing stuff, it threw him out of his game completely. He was trying to do a Thai long guard, and the head starts coming up, and now I don't know what this is. This is please don't hurt me. Yeah. And so, it was me. That's when I stepped in and just, try you and showed, which helped your guy. Your guy was like, whoa, and then, and that, to me, that's the whole point of this thing, is to be able to have people come out and just be cool with each other, man. Come out, be aloha, just open stuff up.
So, you know what? Can we tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to go on Facebook. There is 2 pages that you can find me at, Simi Valley Kickboxing Muay Thai, and then there's Poidog Muay Thai, which is my personal, style page. You can't miss it. The Hawaiian Spear with the Rottweiler, and feel free to get on there, like the page. I put the event up on that page as well. Again, not to reiterate over and over, but we're not looking for guys to come out and ego blast. We're not into it. There are guys there that will happily put you in your place if that's what you want to do. And we know who they are, but we do invite everyone that just wants to come out, have a good time, and try to learn some new stuff, maybe pick up some new stuff, maybe just figure out, play with guys that have different styles. If you've never sparred someone from Taekwondo, you need to spar them. It's a trip, sparring against boxers, if you're a kicker, learning things that you might hear in your gym, kick the puncher, punch the kicker, this will give you a chance to figure out if that's what that guy is.
And it's not as easy as you
and put it into applicable practice.
All right, guys. Yeah. So I want to thank James for coming. I'm glad, man. Very excited to have you here. And also, you can find me and Lama Talk on Facebook. Also, Likewater Productions on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And you can find all our links on likewaterproduction.com. You can find me personally at LAMartialArt@gmail.com. And you're more than welcome to come to my gym, here at Leadership Academy of Martial Arts on Van Nuys. Don't forget to subscribe, you guys. And comment, okay? I want to know what's going on over here. I want to know what you think of James. I want to know what you want, if you ask questions about the Spar-A-THON, you guys. Okay? Don't forget. Thank you very much and have a great day.